The sun burned hot over the endless plains of the American frontier, where dust traveled faster than promises and survival depended on more than just skill with a horse or a gun. It depended on one thing most men refused to face: the ability to let go of the past. In the small frontier settlement of Dusthaven, people often said the land itself carried memories. Old grudges lingered in the wind. Broken dreams settled in the soil. And men who refused to move forward often found themselves buried in what once was. It was here that three lives crossed paths, each carrying their own luggage from the past. There was Elias Mercer, a former railroad engineer turned rancher, who had lost everything in a fire caused by his own misjudgment. There was Caleb Turner, a wandering cowboy known for his skill but also his temper, who had left behind a trail of violence in towns that no longer welcomed him. And there was Lillian Hayes, a determined young woman who had inherited her father's trading post but also his debts, his enemies, and his unfinished business. They were strangers at first. But the Wild West has a way of forcing strangers into the same storm. The weight of the past. Elias Mercer arrived in Dusthaven carrying nothing but a broken wagon and a reputation he no longer wanted. Years earlier, he had overseen the construction of a railroad line that ended in disaster when a fire destroyed a section of track and several homes nearby. Though investigations never officially blamed him, Elias carried the guilt like a chain around his neck. He stopped building railroads after that. Instead, he settled in Dusthaven, bought a small stretch of land, and tried to disappear into silence. But silence does not erase memory. Every night, he saw the flames again. Every morning, he woke up thinking about what he could have done differently. Caleb Turner, on the other hand, never stayed long enough in one place for memories to catch him. He rode from town to town, working as a hired gun, a ranch hand, sometimes a bounty tracker. People respected his skills but feared his temper. He had once been part of a group of lawmen. But after a dispute turned deadly, when he pulled the trigger too quickly and ended a man's life, he left everything behind. He told himself he was free. But freedom without peace is just another form of prison. Lillian Hayes carried a different burden. Her father's trading post had once been the heart of Dusthaven's small economy. But after his death, she discovered hidden debts, unpaid loans, and forged contracts that tied the business to a powerful merchant syndicate in the nearby city of Blackridge. The syndicate wanted control of her land. And they were patient enough to take it piece by piece. Unlike Elias and Caleb, Lillian had not chosen her burden. It had been passed down to her like an inheritance she never asked for. The arrival of trouble. The first sign of change came with the arrival of the Blackridge men. They wore clean suits, carried legal documents, and spoke with calm authority. Their leader, Victor Hale, was not a gunfighter or outlaw. He was something far more dangerous in the West. A man who used law as a weapon. He offered Lillian a deal. Sell the trading post. Pay the debt. Walk away with nothing but freedom. She refused. Victor smiled politely. And then the pressure began. Suppliers stopped delivering goods. Customers were threatened. Her freight wagons were accidentally delayed or destroyed. The trading post began to collapse slowly, like a building weakened from the inside. Lillian fought back the only way she knew how, by working harder. But effort alone cannot fight organized power. That was when Elias stepped in. He noticed the harassment first. Men watching the trading routes, sabotaging supplies, intimidating workers. At first, he stayed out of it. He told himself it was not his problem. But then he saw Lillian standing alone outside her trading post one evening, staring at the empty road where deliveries used to arrive. And something inside him broke the silence of his guilt. He offered help. Not because he was brave, but because for the first time in years, he wanted to try again. The cowboy who would not stay silent. Caleb Turner arrived in Dusthaven 3 days later. He was hired by a rancher to track stolen cattle. But the trail led him straight into the conflict surrounding Lillian's trading post. He saw what Elias saw. Intimidation disguised as business, corruption dressed as law. And for the first time in years, Caleb felt something other than restlessness. He felt anger, but not the destructive kind. The kind that demands justice. When Victor Hale's men tried to intimidate Lillian again, Caleb intervened. He did not draw his gun. He did not threaten. He simply stood in their way. And for men used to fear being enough, that was more dangerous than bullets. The three burdens collide. Elias, Caleb, and Lillian did not trust each other at first. Elias feared confrontation. Caleb distrusted authority. Lillian feared losing everything she had left. But slowly, necessity turned into cooperation. Elias used his knowledge of land routes and infrastructure to track supply disruptions. Caleb protected caravans and deterred attacks without unnecessary violence. Lillian negotiated with local merchants, rebuilding alliances one conversation at a time. Together, they began to push back against Victor Hale's influence. But Hale was not a man who accepted resistance. He escalated the conflict. He framed Caleb for robbery. He spread rumors about Elias's past, reopening old wounds. He pushed legal pressure against Lillian until she risked arrest. Each of them was forced to confront the very thing they had been carrying all their lives: their past mistakes, their regrets, and their fears. The moment of breaking point. The breaking point came during a violent storm. A supply wagon carrying food and medicine was ambushed outside Dusthaven. The attackers burned it completely, leaving nothing but ash and broken wood. The town was on the brink of collapse. Lillian stood in the ruins, realizing that no amount of effort would save them if they kept fighting separately. That night, she called Elias and Caleb together.